Hi guys, Gary Jarcy here, back on another video. Today's video is all about the BND Racing MV01. So this is a video that's taken me a little while to produce, partly because of issues with the car. I'll go through that in detail in a moment. In the meantime, guys, if you can, please subscribe to the channel. Your subs help, and like the video if you like what I do. Future videos that are coming up, before I forget, I have got a video about the Micro RS4 coming up soon, a brushless version. I'll be doing some mods to my 1/10 scale cars that'll be coming up soon. So that's the RMX and the Y2D. I'll have those on soon. Also guys, more mini Z videos coming as well. Just there's only so much I can do, trying to get them all out, and there's so many cars. Right guys, back to the MV01. So I got this car from BND Racing, Band Racing, and in the images it looked impressive, and certainly I've got the images of when I first got the car. It looks vastly different now in this setup, but I'll put those images up on the screen somewhere so you can have a look and see what I'm talking about. The car is impressive in its standard spec. It comes with all alloy arms, alloy gearboxes, alloy knuckles, everything on it was pretty impressive. It comes with the original version has a belt drive, as you'll see in the pictures. It has a differential which you can lock up by tightening up, and that's off of WL Toys, it looks like, or a Mini Q. The gearing inside the gearbox is also, let me just angle that, also something that's from a WL Toys, I'm pretty sure. Generally, it's got lots of parts that are compatible with the WL Toys. The drive shafts, for example, I think these are off WL Toys too. Let's see if I can get that zoomed in there. There we go. Just see if I can get a bit of focus there. Brilliant. Okay. Alloy shocks front and rear. Yeah. Alloy servo arm, which only fits the sort of standard WL Toy servo, or trying to think, yeah, the standard servo you get with the DPA Sport. I think that's that servo arm will not fit the AC11 CLS. It won't fit that, it's too small. So that's what you get with the car. Now, the standard wheelbase adjustable, before I made my modification, I think the maximum you can get it to is like 99 millimeters. So you can't even get to 100 millimeters. It is cool that it's got adjustability for the lower arms at the front, so you can slide them backwards and forwards. And same with the rear gearbox. You can slide the whole assembly front and back. So that's good for adjustability. But it wasn't much use for me, which I'll come to in a moment. Also, the car itself, when it arrived, was very stiff. So at the moment, you can, sorry, making a mess here with the magnets. You can see this is very free. I mean, I freed this up. I had to squeeze these ball caps. You've seen me use this technique before, where apply the pliers and squeeze tight, and that loosens the ball caps up. And I did that front and rear, and that's what got this rear end moving. So it's got good quality parts in the metal parts themselves, but the execution was not good. So the first problem I had was with actually the vertical height. Well, actually, that wasn't the first problem. Let's mention a few of the things that come with the car. Now, it comes with, I think, 3D printed 22mm rims. And the reason it comes with these, and they've got an offset of about 2 or 3, is to do with the fact that these ball caps were so big front and rear. So what do I mean by that? At the front, you can see these aren't the standard ball caps. The original ball caps were too low down, so unless you had a bigger wheel, you were going to hit the floor. Also, because of the way the steering geometry was on the original car, I'll see if I can get any footage of my original unboxing video just to show you this. You need a certain degree of offset, otherwise the wheel would hit the arm. Now what I've done here is, you can see I've adjusted the arms so they don't hit anymore. And these are offset, I think, 1.5 wheels at the front. I think less than an offset 1, you're going to struggle. So I got the box out of the car standard, tried to put a body on it. Because of the height of the bulkhead here, and the way these arms were so close to the upper deck here, I couldn't find a body to fit. I needed a body that was maximum 100 millimeters long, very wide, and very high, and I haven't got any. I've got lots of different bodies. There's no mini Z body that would fit. I know it's a 1/24th scale car. I tried a few different bodies. I had about 5 or 6 different ones I tried. Couldn't get anything to fit. If it fitted, then there was a problem with the arms hitting the underside because they were so close high up to this bit here, and the servo was too high up as well. So a bit of frustration all around there, and I had to rethink everything. I put the car back on the shelf. So in fairness to the car, when I first got it, with a bit of tuning I could get it to drift, but the belt drive was horrendous. I mean, I don't normally, probably not sharp, but the belt drive was horrendous. There was no real power to the rear wheels of the belt drive, and you had to have the motor really high up to keep the tension on the belt. So this is the original, let me find the original wheel. Yeah, so this is the original wheel that went on the main drive shaft. And where's the original pulley for the actual motor? So there was a pulley motor for the motor, which I have misplaced somewhere. Okay, but it was atrocious. The power delivery was not good. The way the suspension was set up, you had extremes of toe in and toe out as the car moved along, and also it made it impossible, again, with the offsets, to find a body that would fit. It just made the car so wide. So it was a bit of a lemon, really. That's right, the conclusion I came to. I felt like it was a lemon. So these purple ball caps, and you can see in the picture on the front as well, the arms were not these turnbuckles I've got here, and not the 3D printed assembly I have there. So in that setup, I was not very happy. So I contacted BND Racing, and I wanted to improve the car. I certainly was nice about it, and I offered to pay for more parts. But I just simply got fobbed off that they couldn't help me, that they'd given everything to the dealers, and if I contacted a dealer, bearing in mind now I bought it directly from BND Racing, so they, there was no dealer I could contact who'd sold it to me. Anyway, so I gave up on what they were offering, and they weren't offering anything, and they just stopped communicating with me, ignoring my messages. So at that point, I decided I would do my own work. So modifications I made to the car. Ignore the magnetic mount on here. So they weren't on the car. I've added those myself. And in the test footage, we've got it going around the track. They're not on there. The first thing I did was sort out the rear gearbox, which I absolutely hated. I hated the fact that with the belt drive on, the motor was so high up. Again, it made it impossible to find a shell that would fit. So I replaced the rear belt drive with a cog system. So this is a cog off the main spur gear for the XRX DPA Sport, and I'll try and find a position so you can see what I actually did. So that was placed onto the shaft. Sorry, but come on. That was placed onto the shaft, and then I put a grub screw through the center of the spur to lock it onto the shaft, which is actually a standard WL Toys drive shaft that's been cut down. And I put a flat spot on the drive shaft so that the grub screw would engage it. I also, I think, put an E-clip. Yeah, I have. You can just about see it there. There is an E-clip visible somewhere there. There it is. I put an E-clip to hold that against the shaft. And in fact, I think that round bit there is the drive cup off the top there, maybe. I'm not sure. But I used some kind of spacer to keep the wheel against the rear gearbox, and that worked a treat. This is a 22 teeth alloy spur gear off my DPA set, and that works pretty smoothly now. No issues there, nice and smooth. I had to do a little bit of work by shimming the rear gearbox, so that's smooth too. Loosen the ball caps off, and then I was happy with the rear end, that it was really pliable, really soft, and no issues with it rolling side to side really. Okay. Next thing I had to address, well, before I could even consider doing anything with the front end, I need to know I could get a body on this car. So I chopped up the chassis, as you can see, went straight through with my Dremel, put a little V-shaped notch on there, and I added a 3D printed base plate, which I could slide the lower workings of the car out to a much further amount. Currently it's set quite long because I plan on using this M6 shell with it, which I haven't finished yet, but I'll just show you how it seats. So that seats in pretty well, and that's going to be my finished. I've got to do a bit of tuning with the rear end there, but we're almost there, and that's going to be the finished article. And you can also see I've got clearance for the servo. and just about clearance for the arms. So now we come to the front end. This was where I spent a lot of time. Let's get this off. So for the front assembly, what did we change? First thing I had to do was lower the servo from its ridiculously high height. Just put some spacers in, drop the servo down till it's pretty close to the lower arms, as you can see there. Now with the standard arms, it just made the car impossible to put any wheels on that would work with anything else. So I 3D printed a little adapter. I used the ball ends off an XRX DPA Sport. These are the ones that go usually for the upper arms on the XRX. So I've used those here as well, and here for the steering mechanism. I made this little adapter so I could create an offset and then use a smaller size for the these are the ball ends that you get for the steering system on the XRX DPA Sport, and those are some kingpins with long arms underneath, which I've bent slightly to make steering stops. So that was an additional bit of work I had to do. The turnbuckles are also off the XRX. These ones, I'm actually not sure where I got them from, but they look good, so I added them in, but you can use the standard screws on that. The sizes are the same. I replaced all the really big ball heads that came with this set with these smaller ones off the DPA Sport that I had spare, and that instantly reduced the size of my steering mechanism so that I could actually get a nice steering angle without having to worry about sizes of wheels and bashing into other parts of the car. Next thing I did was I dropped the upper arms here by putting, you can see probably some nuts there that I've put in, and this was done so that I could lower the arms away from the upper shell, the upper base plate, because otherwise it was hitting underneath the car. So that said, after all that, how does the car handle? Well, the good news is the car handles absolutely amazingly. It is brilliant. I can slow drift, I can fast drift. This thing will hold a slide sideways as long as I want it to, and it is very flexible and pliable and great fun to drive. Now I think that is in part down to all the work I've put in with the steering geometry and the gearbox. The thing that makes it hold together well are the alloy parts. Actually, I've just remembered something else that I did. I actually, there are grub screws that hold the bars, the pins in for these arms, and I took the grub screws out the top and put them underneath so that if I want to, I can adjust the ride height by unscrewing them slightly. So I've got a little bit of ride height adjustment. I could do the same here, I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, that enables you to get a bit of ride height adjustment, and I'm planning on doing the same with the rear, but at the moment it's set up nicely, so I'm not too worried about that. What's next for this car? Well, the handling is brilliant, and you'll see in the footage, which I'm going to put up now, the thing handles well, and it is a good drifter. Now, is that because of how it came to me? No, absolutely not. This is all the work I've put in that's made it good. And if you've got this car, I'm sure you can make it drift well if you just spend some time with it. But if you haven't got access to a 3D printer, I can see why it's going to be difficult. So I've 3D printed a few parts, which I will reprint again in black. And I put some magnetic mounts on, and this car's ready to go. So my feeling on this is now that this is a great car. If BND Racing want to actually make a great car, they can change it and they can make it really good.
So here we are, guys. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And you can see that this thing is handling pretty smoothly. I've got it set to slow drifting, 3,500 kV motor. And those are the Michelin 22mm tyres, drift tyres on the car. 1.5 offset, I think, on all the wheels. And as you can see, I'm controlling the swings pretty easily. A lot of the times here I'm using full throttle. I'm going all the way to full throttle and holding it on full throttle and just using the steering to navigate the car. And when I want to change a slide, just back off the throttle, put it back on again, and that'll cause the tail to snap back or snap the other way quite controllably. So in terms of handling, it's very well balanced. And it is a big car. I mean, I've got it set to 115mm, and the track width at the rear I think is 80mm, which is comparable to my Nissan GTR Liberty Walk, which is the DPA Sport that I've set up with a similar wheelbase. And it handles on par with that. If not, I think this is better. I think this actually handles better, but bearing in mind this has had a lot of work and 3D parts printed specifically for it by myself. And I think the way I've set the chassis up and the battery up, I think what this has the advantage with is that mid-mounted motor, which is in the center of the chassis, it does seem to help with the balance quite a lot. I think whatever rotational forces go through the motor, this seems to not have an effect one way or the other. And I think that high sort of middle position works quite well with the rear wheels. There is an option to actually flick it around the other way and put the motor sticking out the back, but I haven't thought of a body shot that will work with, so leave that with me for now. Guys, as you can see, it's working beautifully, and certainly you can see that I'm coming out the drifts and navigating to the next corner. My track is uneven. There are bumps underneath because the RCP track is underneath. Some of the corners slope down, some of them are almost slightly uphill, but the suspension handled it beautifully. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the setup now. I think let's see what we can do with this next time and maybe put a better speed controller on it.
Okay guys, so that's all for today. I hope you liked the video, and I will hopefully be dropping some more videos. HPI Micro RS4, Y2D, RMX MST, and then after that probably some mini Z videos. Okay guys, if you like what we do here, leave me a sub, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.